Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? So long ago. Where have all the flowers gone? The graveyards, everyone. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? Mm-mm-mm. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, family, good evening, morning, or afternoon. Welcome to the Mental House. I am your host, Khadijah. Today, I am going to make a homage video to the brothers um, in my community, young men who left. Well, wait, let me back up. Let me back up. I was reminiscing with some old friends that I'd seen that I've known for, oh boy, over 50 years. And we began to talk about things that when we were children, of course, and growing up. And then we began to talk about the devastating effect of the Vietnam War on our neighborhood. And what a lot of people don't understand is that, like, nowadays, these guys, they volunteer to go, so they want to go, they go. They don't. Back then, you were drafted. And so if you didn't want to go, it didn't really matter. Either you had to run away and escape and get to Canada, or your ass was gone. Okay? And yet the 60s were so traumatic and tumultuous that a lot of black folks didn't see themselves going over to Vietnam to fight an enemy that they never, ever, ever laid eyes on, so-called enemy, and the enemy that they were facing every day was the enemy of the United States and Jim Crow and racism and white supremacy. So, with that being said, the Vietnam War was a very, very different war. And I'm a product of the 60s. So, as a child, I remember, I don't even think, I know I wasn't even double digits yet. But in 69, I became double digits. So, I remember when the brothers would sit on the porch and it'd be late. And of course, when the street lights came on, everybody had to sit on their own porch. But the older teenagers, they would go to bring us stuff from the store if they were going because they knew we couldn't get off the porch. And that's the sense of community that I remember. So as my friend and I were talking about these days, we began to cry. As I'm kind of getting full right now, just thinking about it. All the young men who were taken out of my community to serve in the Vietnam War. These were babies. They didn't want to go. They was cool. They were, they'd go to the store and get your potato chips, and your pretzels. They didn't want to go to the Vietnam War. And they didn't have a choice. And on this little short video, and I told her I was going to do this. I said I want to pay homage to my family members, your family members, all the people that y'all know that's served in the Vietnam War. Specifically, more importantly, specifically, I'm just speaking of my people and the people that I knew personally. But they were the only group of men that came back that were called baby killers. They were drafted into fight in the war. They did not want to go. Remember, it's a difference between volunteering, a volunteer army, and somebody snatching you off the streets you getting your process done or your hair done and saying, hey, I want you to go fight an enemy. It's just a whole different concept. And now that I got the fog out my throat, I want to just say to these brothers that I love them and rest in soul peace. Um, Anthony Hayward, Darnell Smith, I remember y'all brothers. Howard uh, Johnson, his name was Howard Johnson, like the hotel. Nate was a real snappy dresser. He used to wear the Zanzibar belts and the knit shirts. He was just really, really, really cool. He had the scarf tied around his head to keep his do in place. Those are the brothers that never made it back. Um, then you got guys like Chucky, who made it back. And when he made it back, he was a drug addict and so full of drugs that he eventually passed away from sniffing glue or something of that nature. Chucky was such a beautiful man. He used to call me Venus, the goddess of love. I mean, and these guys would look out for us. It was nothing, inappropriate. It was nothing, it was just good, clean, older brother, black men loved in the community. Um, the brothers that did come back, like my uncle, Nathaniel O'Neill, but he came back and he didn't have all his faculties. There's a lot of them that came back like that. Unlike their white counterparts that might have been devastated by the Vietnam War, they weren't used after that to fill up the prison systems. So as bad as it was for them to fit into society, they didn't have to think on top of that they were going to be used to go into another type of hell. And that's basically what happened. So when I start thinking about all the devastation on my community, I understand why it is in the situation, in the shape that it's in. And if anybody say again that we got to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, I feel that you're a very disingenuous person. And you're the kind of person that, you don't, of course, you don't even want to acknowledge or examine the truth of any situation. You just take the easy way out. But for me and myself, I want to just pay homage to the Vietnam veterans. And I know you might say, what? Yeah. Because that's how deep it was. Those young guys lost their lives. And they were nice young guys, young men. And I totally had forgot about them, a lot of them, until, thanks, Gerald, until they were actually brought up and we began to talk about it. And so that's like at least 5 to 6 young men that we knew. Tommy, Blodgett, they didn't even come back from Vietnam. And none of those guys were past 22, 21, 22 years old. Anyways, I thought I'd pay homage to them in my own special way. I know love never dies. So I just want them to know that their service was not in vain. And that because they're in my memory and in my heart somewhere, obviously they made an impact on my life. And Gerald's too. Because we were talking about all of it yesterday. So like I said, I want to salute all your family members and the ones that you may have lost that served in the Vietnam War, a war that they were forced to go to and forced to serve. I want to pay homage to those guys today. Thank y'all for listening. And somebody might, if you're saying why now, it's not that it's better late than never. It's the fact that they need to be recognized. Oh, and by the way, if you get a chance, watch that movie with Tom Cruise. I can't think of the name of it right now, where he plays this a Vietnam veteran a guy that he goes to the war. He's real gung ho. But then when he comes back in a wheelchair, and then the drama and stuff that he faced, and all the dogma, and just all that. See how he transformed. It's a pretty long movie. I can't think of the name of it, but you would love it. If you want to see how we got where we are, and really see what kind of era the 60s was. And then also there was a documentary on PBS called The Panthers, the Vanguard of the Revolution. That combined, and so you got a little Hollywood in terms of film, Hollywoodish with the Tom Cruise aspect of it, but then you have a bona fide documentary from an African American perspective when you see the Vanguard of the Revolution. And that was ran on PBS, I think, for 2 nights. So I thank you for listening, and I made sure I want to just give that shout out to all my brothers. Thanks. Bye bye.